Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Perth November 2025 agenda briefing session. I formally declare this session open at 5 p.m. and I would respectfully like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia. Pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar country. CEO, could you please recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Okay, please note that in accordance with the agenda briefing session terms and references, this meeting is being publicly broadcasted and the recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. In attendance, we have Councillor Doshi, Councillor Gobbett, Councillor Leza, Councillor Ma, Councillor Pakin and Councillor Patton. Councillor Coe on a leave of absence, or is he absent? Councillor Coe has an apology, thank you. I'd also like to remind councillors to please submit any applications. Sorry, I'm just going to check one other thing. It says... Yep. Okay, so Councillor Gonsalves is on approved leave of absence but is in attendance, so we've already noted that, thank you. I'd remind councillors to please submit any applications for a leave of absence prior to the next week's ordinary council meeting. In addition, I welcome our Chief Executive Officer, all officers present, any members of the public, media in attendance. It looks like we might be there. We're fine there. Can elected members please acknowledge that you've had sufficient time to read and consider the agenda items presented this evening? Perfect, thank you. I'd also like to remind people to keep mobile phones on silent and refrain from using in the exception of emergencies. In the event of an emergency, please pay attention to the directions given by City of Perth staff who will make big steps. We'll follow the big fella at the back there. Announcements by the Deputy Lord Mayor. The only announcement I have very briefly... Yes, sorry, good point. Thank you very much. And I nearly referred to you as Councillor Wellard, so there you go. So thank you very much. Before we begin today's proceeding, I would like to just pause for a moment of reflection. Today, of course, is Remembrance Day, and that's a day when we honour those who have served and sacrificed the freedoms that we enjoy. At 11 a.m. this morning, Australians everywhere stopped in silence to remember them. Let us carry that same spirit of gratitude and respect with us throughout the day. Their legacy lives in our freedom and in the generations they've protected. Our duty is to continue to build something worthwhile for that sacrifice. Thank you, and lest we forget. Okay, disclosures of interest. Item 5. CEO, have we received any disclosures of interest?
No, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, are there any disclosures from the floor? No, thank you. Public participation. Item 6.1, which is public questions. Public question time will be held at the next week ordinary council meeting. Item 6.2, deputations. CEO, are there any deputations?
Yes, Lord Mayor, 2 deputations have been received from one person. One deputation has been received in relation to item 11.1, expansion of the City of Perth 40 kilometres an hour speed zone, speaking for the officer's recommendation. And one deputation has been received in relation to item 19.1, notice of motion, street parking fee waiver voucher program, speaking against the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much, CEO. Please remind there is a 5-minute time limit for deputations. I will now invite Steve Wellard, who is speaking for and against 2 deputations, to come forward and to state your name and proceed. See you, Steve.
Thank you very much. Just give me a second, sorry.
We'll stop the clock for you.
Yeah, obviously did something last Twitter. Yep, thank you very much. Steve Wellard, former City of Perth Councillor of 1303 Hay Street, West Perth. So my deputation is in favour of motion 11.1, expansion of the City of Perth 40 km/h speed zone. First, I'd like to acknowledge the extensive work undertaken by the City of Perth administration since 2011, that's 12 years ago, for us to reach this point. I also commend the administration for its broad consultation and feedback gathering, which has resulted in what I'm slightly biased towards, a recommendation for option 1, the common sense solution. My topic, not yours. I say biased as option 1 as it's almost identical to the proposal that I submitted upon request from the administration earlier this year and before community consultation. It was based on my living, working and commuting experience across both the City of Vincent, who was the first inner city council to make the move to majority 40-kilometre zones, and our great City of Perth. Prior councillors and GM should recall me detailing what I referred to as the basket case, that is the City of Vincent's 40-kilometre rollout, and insisting that we learn from and not follow their mistakes. From Vincent's 7 speed limit changes over a 1 kilometre stretch of Vincent Street to their 6 pedestrian crossings installed over a 500-metre stretch of Bulwer Street, and of course to the lovely policemen booking cars for speeding in excess of 40 kilometres an hour while standing directly underneath a 60 kilometre an hour speed sign near Hyde Park. We have a lot to do better. To digress further, I'm privileged to own a car that actively reads street signs and advises speed limits. I can tell you, even my car's computer gets confused driving through North Perth. If a computer can't work it out, then what hope do we have as simple humans? So I urge our new elected members to take on board all those learnings I detailed and drafted in my submission that has now evolved into this option 1. Please keep the speed zones and the signage simple. Allow for a more efficient pace on city exit roads to blend seamlessly with neighbourhood councils. My goal back then, as it is now, is to implement a plan that is safer, easier to follow, and therefore harder to get wrong. One last point. Well done on taking the lead to reducing the speed limit on the jointly owned Newcastle Street. It never made sense for Newcastle Street between Fitzgerald and Lord to be at 60 kilometres an hour. I challenge any driver during the day to be able to achieve those sort of speeds or anything greater than 40 kilometre on that stretch anyway. Thank you for listening to community's concern, especially those who live and work west of the freeway, who sadly no longer have any representation on this council. I look forward to seeing this initiative being passed next week, building on the tangible work achieved over the 5 years to make our city safer and easier to commute across. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. I'll just, before we go on to the next deputation, see if there's any questions from the floor. No? Okay. Oh, sorry. Councillor Gonsalves. TLM.
Thanks, Steve, for your deputation. I'm just wondering, you mentioned their Hay Street address. Is that your primary residence?
That's my address in West Perth.
Yeah, but do you live there or do you live elsewhere?
I live in North Perth, yes.
In North Perth.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm just wondering, in terms of living in North Perth as a resident of the City of Vincent, you did say just in your deputation there that the City of Vincent's rollout was a quote-unquote a basket case.
Yep.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
I thought I did that in my deputation, actually. I noted some points there that are clearly not good for us to replicate in the City of Perth.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? On to the next deputation.
Thank you very much. So again, my name's Steve Willard, former City of Perth Councillor, 1303 Hay Street, West Perth. My deputation is against motion 19.1, Street Parking Fee Waiver Voucher Program. I note and agree with the administration's recommendation is not to support this motion based on cost, complexity to manage and lost revenue. Rather than repeating those valid points listed in the agenda, I intend to broaden the field of view with some observations and some considerable feedback from ratepayers during my election campaigns. I note that the elected member raising this motion for the second time is based in East Perth, and so I did a little bit of Googling, how dangerous that can be, to see how hard it is to get parking permits in that part of the city. What I found was quite surprising, perhaps something I should have looked up earlier in my 12 months on council and spending all those hours and hours taking wildcat training courses. I found there to be already 3 options available to East Perth residents for parking permits. The first one, of course, is across the whole city. The City of Perth has a fairly easy to follow residential parking permit application system that allows any City of Perth property resident to apply and obtain a single parking permit they can use for their own car or for visitors, perhaps tradies. The costs associated with these permits seems to be skewed towards suburbs where street parking fees are in place. More about that more about areas with time-limited free parking will be later in my deputation. The second I saw was that residential building strata bodies in East Perth and across the city can apply for up to 10 unnamed parking permits. The natural assumption here would be to allow for tradespersons to park close by without additional cost and margin being applied to their repair bills, i.e. this seems to be the intent of the original elected members' motion. Then comes the clanger, number 3. East Perth residents are allowed to get extra parking permits if they live anywhere east of Plain Street or north of Hay Street, a zone called the East Perth Stadium area. Now, these residents can obtain 2 vehicle-specific permits and 1 non-vehicle-specific permit per dwelling or unit. Amazingly, there even is an FAQ sheet for questions. So in my humble opinion, there are already a number of options available to meet the intent of this motion without adding unnecessary complexity, cost and losing revenue, especially east of the city. So now back to my earlier point. What about those residents who are not able to park at their own street frontages due to time restrictions and not parking fees? I refer to you to the residents west of the freeway in Crawley and Nedlands. These residents tell me regularly they are being targeted by rangers for parking out the front of their own house and in some cases in their own driveways. The city's recommended solution is for them to purchase parking permits at a cost of $118 per vehicle per year. Remember, these are areas where there's no parking fees. Parking time limits have been put in place to prevent medical staff, day patients and UWA students from parking all day in front of the residents' homes at their verges. The solution is for the poor resident to pay a permit in order to help control all-day free parking. It makes no sense. I urge elected members to vote down this costly motion to replicate an existing service. I then urge elected members to broaden your focus to across the other side of the city to help the 27% of your resident base that lost their voice on council last month to show courage in raising a motion assisting those residents west of the freeway, allowing them to park in front of their houses and in their own driveways without the fear of getting a parking ticket. If we can have a special parking permit solution for East Perth Stadium area, then why can't we have an appropriate solution for our ratepayers in the West? Thank you. That should do me for my first ABS.
Okay,
Cheers.
thank you very much. Has anyone got any questions?
Happy to ask.
Councillor Gonzalez?
Thanks.
Councillor
You just
DLM?
said there that West Perth lost its voice. In what way?
There's no councillor that's based west of the freeway now.
And did you just said there, where do you live right now?
My council registered address is in West Perth.
And where is your primary electoral address?
My electoral address is in West Perth.
And you live in your primary residence, which is?
All right,
what's the relevance?
I'm just going to jump in there for 1 second, Councillor Gonsalves. I think I can see the point you're making. I'm not 100% sure that that we need to go down that path. So you're saying, Councillor Wellard, Steve, that you're the voice of West Perth. Is that what you were kind of referring to? That's yes or no. It's no big thing.
Yes, I was
All right,
the
that's
only councillor with a West Perth address on my campaign material.
Understand. No problem at all. Yep. So
Question is very simple. According to the WA Electoral Commission, where do you reside?
I think I've answered the question, Lord.
Point of order. What's the relevance of that question?
Sorry, it's a briefing session and there is no points of order. So I'd like to ask the question again.
So what's the relevance?
cut to the chase there. So Steve Wellard lives in North Perth. He does have a property in West Perth. I think that's pretty plain.
Okay.
Any other questions from anyone else or any further?
I think my point of asking questions at deputation is to find out information. So thank you, Lord.
No, that's cool. No problem. That's all. And that's pretty much
Interesting, we'd have a conversation about ratepayers versus renters. It's a
No,
non-subject.
it's all good. No, and it's a time for questions. There's no problem there at all. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
moving along. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now up to, that was item 6, we're up to item 7. I've been wanting to say this all week. 6, 7, I don't know what it means, but apparently my son, he did say, come on, Dad, do it. Items 7 through to 10 will be dealt with at the Ordinary Council meeting next week. Reports, we'll move over to reports 11, which is 11.1, the expansion of City of Perth 40 kilometres per hour speed zone. We have already had a deputation. Councillor Leeser has put through one question. Councillor Leeser, has that been answered to your satisfaction?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, I had 3 questions, but also I have a follow-up question. I remember getting this briefing some months ago, and it was talked about as being a trial. Can I get clarity? Is this a trial or is it a permanent change? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll put that through to the CEO.
And if I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Through the Lord Mayor, the proposal is not a trial, it is a permanent solution.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Yes, I have questions.
Councillor Doshi.
Okay, sorry that my questions were late, so I'll ask them now. Can the administration please confirm how many of the 590 survey respondents were City of Perth residents compared to visitors or workers? And how was this weighted in forming the recommendation?
All right, thank you. Through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, 45% of the respondents to the survey, or 266 persons, live within the city that responded. 56% of the total respondents were supportive of the expansion of 40 kilometres per hour, and of those not supportive, 51% were supportive of 40 kilometres in selected areas. So a citywide approach to 40 kilometres an hour provides a more consistent approach for drivers and will encourage that higher compliance. Community feedback was one of the 10 criteria used to analyse 3 potential options for the expansion of the 40 kilometre area zone.
Okay, through to the next question.
Thank you. Given the consultation shows mixed views amongst city residents, how does the administration plan to manage community expectation and communication if option 1 is actually adopted?
Through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, a communication and engagement strategy is currently being developed in conjunction with the Perth Inner City Group. But as part of that approach, it essentially will be a best practice approach that would communicate the rationale for adopting option 1, actively engage with the community throughout implementation, and provide regular updates on progress to enable feedback channels to remain open to address concerns.
Okay. Next question, please.
Thank you. Can we review any local crash or pedestrian incident data collected since the first 40 kilometre zone trials were introduced to demonstrate the measurable safety improvements?
Through the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Through the Lord Mayor, crash severity reduction data rather than frequency is associated with slower speeds, even if crash count remains similar.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
Could the administration please advise on the estimated total cost of implementing option 1, including design, signage, installation and internal resource costs, and confirm whether these costs can be met with the existing budget or if external funding, i.e. Main Roads WA or the Road Safety Commission, is being sought?
Through to the CEO.
Thank you. To the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, the financial implications are detailed in the report, but the total cost of the project, should option 1 be approved, is $75,300, which is subject to a grant funding approval, plus $47,000, which would be subject to a council budget approval process. And these costs include the removal of redundant signs, reinstatements, as well as escalation and contingency costs. Once the budgets are approved, Main Roads WA will be responsible for the rollout of new signage.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
Thank you. Please confirm whether certain precincts, such as high pedestrian or residential areas, will be prioritised in the staged rolled out between 2025 and 2027.
Through to the CEO.
And to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, the staging will be determined by Main Roads WA. As mentioned, they will be responsible for the rollout. The city, however, will be actively advocating for coordination with adjoining local councils and prioritisation of town centres to maximise safety outcomes and ensure a consistent approach.
Thank you. Councillor Doshi, question 9.
Thank you. How does the initiative align with the city's transport strategy and broader livability goals?
Through to CEO, sorry.
And through to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, this initiative aligns with the city's transport strategy, the bike plan and the walking in the city plan by promoting safer, more accessible streets for pedestrians and cyclists. It also supports broader livability goals by reducing traffic speeds, reflecting national and international trends towards slower, people-focused urban environments that prioritise safety and active transport.
Thank you. What post-implementations, evaluations or reporting will be undertaken to measure whether the project achieves its intended safety and amenity outcome?
Thank you. Through the CEO.
And to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, post-implementation monitoring will be coordinated through the Perth Inner City Group with data collected both before and after implementation using traffic counters. An evaluation report consolidating data from all councils will be provided annually by the PICG, and this report will focus on measuring reductions in speed, number of crashes and changes in public perception. In addition, routine monitoring will continue as the city already investigates issues raised through community feedback or following serious crashes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions on this item? Councillor Gonsalves, DLM.
Happy to let Councillor Pecan.
Right, sorry.
Thank you.
Defer to
Yes.
Councillor Pecan.
Thank you very much. What would be the justification in lowering the speed limit on what I consider major thoroughfares like Adelaide Terrace, Wellington Street and Plain Street in East Perth specifically, as well as Wellington Street in West Perth and Hackett Drive in Crawley?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, option 1 proposes to retain the speed limit on Wellington Street West at 50 kilometres an hour. The justification for lowering speed limits to 40 kilometres on Adelaide Terrace and Hackett Drive is to maintain consistency with speed limits in both neighbourhoods. And then lower speed limits on Plain Street and Adelaide Terrace will also support the opening of the new East Perth Primary School.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
So would the admin be open to offering an option that excludes those specific streets?
Through to the CEO.
And through to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, we did provide in the report an assessment of 3 options. However, option 1 has been recommended as it more effectively meets most of the evaluation criteria compared with the other 2 options. It is more legible for drivers, avoids multiple speed limit changes and excessive signage clutter, and prevents scenarios where the city would have higher speed limits than neighbouring suburbs. It also provides the greatest safety benefits. Excluding Plain Street and Adelaide Terrace needs further consideration in the context of the new school.
Any further
Thank you. And one final question from me. With the breakdown of responses, do we have statistics on where the residents were based, East Perth, West Perth, Crawley, and if the 50-odd% of people that were in support of lowering the speed limits, has that been weighted against the population in each suburb?
Okay, thank you. Through the CEO.
Through to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
The survey was a blanket survey, wasn't a scientific survey where we required a certain sample size from each of the neighbourhoods within the city. It was really about trying to get as much as we can in terms of those responses. So I don't off the top of my head know the proportion from each of the neighbourhoods, but we can provide that if that's of use.
That'd be great. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, Councillor Gonsalves, DLM.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question was just as a follow-up actually to Councillor Pecan's, I'm looking at option 1, and Wellington Street West is included, but obviously Wellington Street East is not. Is there any justification as to what's going on there with Wellington Street West as an addition? I can see that it is a thoroughfare, but of course Hay Street and Murray Street both provide direct links to the freeway and do serve that purpose as well, but we are lowering the speeds there. Is there any reason as Wellington Street, which only has one access really into the freeway, the Mitchell Freeway, has been given special consideration?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And through to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
It really comes down to the legibility of the speed zones. So it made sense for that section of Wellington Street from the freeway west to be maintained at 50 kilometres as an exit route, as is the street further to the north. I can't even read the names. As being maintained at 50 kilometres, whereas with the rest of Wellington Street, you can see that it already is in part 40k, and so to maintain that legibility through the central Perth area, precinct and into East Perth, it just makes more logical sense that it continues as such.
Any further questions?
In terms of, it was mentioned there about the new East Perth Primary School, which everyone is looking forward to. I do note, however, it doesn't actually sit right on Plain Street. There is a full lot that we ourselves, the City of Perth, will retain ownership over. In terms of the speed zones there and what is generally required for a primary school, would that offset be enough? And is there a reason as to why the school itself is being given special consideration, considering it doesn't actually, it doesn't sit within Plain Street itself?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO, through to the GM.
Thank you, through the Lord Mayor. Plain Street is part of that school's direct catchment. It is one of the areas of the Department of Education's Transport Working Group's assessment. So Plain Street is a key, access point to the actual school, and is being considered for a number of reduced, intersection treatments and other treatments to reduce the actual traffic speed and manage the increased pedestrian points to the school, because most of the traffic that will be attending that school, or whether it be through pedestrians or through vehicles, will be coming from the west, not from the east.
Any further questions? Councillor Marr, do you have a question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question is also a follow-up on Councillor Pakin's. So what measures have actually been taken to directly consult with the university and its students, especially about the proposed change along Hackett Drive?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO, through to the GM.
Thank you. To the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
I would have to double check whether there was any special session as such with the university around their view on any change of the speed zones, but with the whole consultation, it was open to all stakeholders and interested parties, residents, ratepayers, etc., who were using Engage Perth to provide feedback, and through quite a significant social media campaign to bring the project to everyone's attention. But whether there was any specific consultation with students or UWA specifically, I would need to come back to you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
So just following that, I'd say 590 would be a relatively small sample. So would there be issues with sampling bias, meaning the results may not accurately reflect the overall population, especially the Engage Perth platform? It generally attracts highly engaged citizens, so those who have strong opinions. So could there be perhaps possibility of self-selection bias, and therefore those satisfied may be less prone to report or contribute?
Good question. Through the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, the consultation is a way to, I guess, inform the community around the project and provide an opportunity for feedback. It's not intended to be the sole basis for a decision. So as you can see in the report, what we've done is we've included that feedback. So we've detailed that in there, and it's very clearly divisive. It's not necessarily saying that the community, the majority of the community want 40K in every street within the city. However, when you look at the community feedback in the context of all the other criteria that we are considering in this, our assessment is that option 1 is the most appropriate option. So as I said, I think in response to one of the other questions, it is one of 10 criteria that is being used.
Any further questions?
No, thank you very much.
Alrighty, well, with that, Councillor Ma, you're off the mark. You've just hit a double throw on the inside, on the onside in cricket analogy, so congratulations. And one thing I will add before we go on any further, has anyone else got any questions? Councillor Patton.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to ask, obviously this is going to heavily affect 24 hours a day. Has there been any consultation or thought given to late night workers such as hospitality, medical staff that are essentially going to be the only ones on the road at 3 or 4 in the morning driving through the city?
Thank you. Through to the CEO.
And can I invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please?
We haven't taken the approach of any slicing and dicing in terms of speed controls at different times of the day and their impact. It's more around how a general reduction in the speed limit would impact safety across the city generally. So that's been the objective of the project, and that's how we've communicated and consulted on. The feedback has been around, if you were to consider it, how would you consider it? And that looked at some more high pedestrian environments where community highlighted those as priority areas, but we certainly didn't get any feedback around time of day as part of the consideration.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd have a follow-up.
Yep. Thank you, DLM.
Thanks. Just as a follow-up to that question around night, was any consideration given to what we see in other streets like Beaufort Street throughout the city of Vincent, where we have variable speed zones with functioning digital signage that updates the speed depending what time of day and what the traffic conditions are?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And through to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, please.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, we already have some of those variable signage speed zone smiley faces, like there's one down at the Avenue in Netherlands at the moment that we are trialling for those areas where we have had community concerns around speed. That's certainly a way of, I guess, informing community directly, getting that response around what speed they are travelling in that zone, and that's how we use them. So we do have a number of those around the city that are active at the moment.
Yeah, just to follow up, just to clarify, I wasn't referring to the kind of feedback digital signs that we have, that we do have. I was referring to the specific variable speed signs that main roads and other cities use, particularly on Beaufort Street was I think the first implementation where the actual speed varies from 40 kilometres to 50 to 60, depending on the traffic, depending on the time of day, and obviously the safety conditions. So the speed itself, the enforced speed, is variable.
Yeah, so do you understand what the councillors sort of, yeah.
So can I direct that question to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability? But equally, if you'd like to take it on notice, maybe we could ask the Deputy Lord Mayor to frame that. So I'm just very mindful of wanting, it's quite a detailed question. Deputy Lord Mayor, would it be appropriate
happy to clarify that it's just whether we considered the use of variable digital signs in our speed zone strategy, and particularly to take into account the needs of our nighttime economy.
Thank you. I was just going to finish my sentence and just ask if that was going to be of assistance. But now that you've clarified, thank you. If I could direct to the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability, and equally, if we could answer, but if we need more information, we're happy to provide more detail at the OCM. Thank you.
The simple answer is no.
Any further questions? Councillor Paikin.
Yes, so just following on from Councillor Patton's suggestion, I think VMS signs could be a good compromise, and you probably wouldn't have the answer now, but could the admin look into potentially the costs of having variable speed signs rather than permanent signs?
Okay, thank you. Well, that probably sounds like a suggestion rather than a question. Is that okay? Yep. Okay. Look, guys. I think what we'll do is we'll move on now, and I'll just add one quick thing. Obviously, we had an EMS on the 2nd of the 9th where a lot of these questions did come up, and it was a fantastic meeting. For some of the newer councillors, what I might suggest is, if it is of interest, we might be able to do a quick session between now and the ordinary council meeting, where we could have a quick sort of update to sort of counter some of those. I guess in that particular meeting that I was in, and probably going back further, my first knee-jerk reaction was, I don't want rules, this is, that sort of thing, 40, and then when it was explained in depth, how the reality is most of the city is already 40 kilometres an hour, and it's an extension into the residential areas, and there are going to be a couple of mainstream streets that they're going to have, I guess, how would you call it, a little bit of conjecture around. But what we're trying to do is something for the greater good, and when you do go into hospitals and you see people who don't walk out of the hospital because of 10 kilometres an hour, and Councillor Coe's not here, but he would be able to explain how that works. And again, it's in a lot of cases at night when someone's just inadvertently, accidentally walked out in front of the car. It wasn't the car's fault. They were doing the speed limit. Someone's made a split-second decision. So it is a complex issue, but I certainly would recommend, if it was of any benefit for the team, to have a recap before the next ordinary council meeting, so we're in a situation where we can make a very considered, important decision with everyone being up to the same speed of the learnings we've had prior. So let's take that offline if that's okay, and we can move on to the next item. Okie doke. Item 12 and item 13, there are no reports. Item 14, which is the Commercial Service Alliance reports, 14.1, the Perth City Link care, control and maintenance of new reserves. There have been no questions with notice. Are there any questions from the floor on that item? No, we're good? Okay. Item 14.2 is closure of Murray Street Road Reserves and amendments of Murray Street and Forest Place basement reserves. Results of advertising. Are there any questions from the floor? No, there isn't. Sorry, there's no questions with notice. Any questions from the floor? Okay, we'll move on to 15.1, which is the monthly financial statements for September 2025. No questions with notice. Any questions from the floor? Item 15.2, schedule of accounts paid for September 2025. No questions with notice. Are there any questions from the floor? Thank you. 15.3 is the Corporate Business Plan 25-26 to 28-29 Quarterly Progress Report 1. No questions have been received with notice. Are there any questions from the floor? Okey-doke. Moving on to 16.1, which is the Economic Development Sponsorship for 25-26. No questions on that item with notice. Any questions from the floor? Councillor Doshi.
Thank you. My first question is, can the administration, my first point is that I actually love the idea that the City of Perth is supporting Aboriginal-led tourism, which is quite different from just general tourism WA. So thank you for that and leading by example. Can the administration outline how this project aligns with the city's economic development objectives, please?
Through the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Engagement and Activation to respond, please.
Thank you, through the Lord Mayor. The first objective in the city's economic development strategy is about the city being even more engaging and appealing to existing and prospective businesses, investors, and people being potential visitors and tourists to the city. The fourth objective is about having a clear point of differentiation from domestic and international competing centres. So domestically, that would be competing centres such as Karrinyup or Innaloo. Furthermore, the strategy identifies tourism as a key growth sector to help diversify the city's economy. And if I can just add that Tourism WA regularly publish a survey of tourists and the results from that survey. More than 4 out of 5 international tourists are seeking an authentic Indigenous experience, but only 1/4 of those visitors do receive that experience. So we're comfortable there's enough unmet demand that could be met by these businesses.
Excellent, thank you. And how will this initiative directly support Aboriginal-led businesses, and what specific outcomes are to be expected? Does it align with or duplicate anything existing in terms of Aboriginal tourism programs in Perth and across WA? So are we duplicating anything here?
If I can invite the General Manager, Engagement and Activation to respond, please.
Thank you. Through the Chair. WATOC is the peak member organisation for representing over 200 Aboriginal owned and operated tourism businesses. We've spoken with them again today and they've validated that it does not cross over, it supplements or complements existing programs. In terms of the outcomes, I guess the ultimate outcome is to draw more people to visit and enjoy the city of Perth. A big part of the program is capability building for up to 6 Indigenous organisations that have access to 50 hours of business mentoring each, as well as up to $11,000 from WATOC for additional training, such as social media training to help improve their businesses.
Alrighty, thank you. Next question.
How will the administration verify that the outcomes directly benefit the City of Perth, local government areas, given the Aboriginal tourism activities may extend beyond our boundaries?
Through the CEO.
Thank you. And to the General Manager, Engagement and Activation, please.
Thank you. Through the Lord Mayor, this was a deep discussion by the panel at the time. Some of the activities will take place outside of the City of Perth, but really due to cultural guidelines and permissions to share stories of country, it's not always possible for businesses to only operate within the City of Perth local government boundaries. However, we did have the conversation with WATOC as the applicant, and they have committed that their expressions of interest to businesses would be clear and encourage businesses to concentrate as much of their activity within the city's boundaries as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what process does the City follow if a recipient does not meet the agreed deliverables within the sponsorship period?
Through the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Engagement and Activation to respond, please.
Thank you. Through the Lord Mayor, all applicants through the whole sponsorship and grants program are required to submit acquittal reports within 3 months of the end of the projects, detailing the outcomes they've achieved and reporting on the deliverables of the agreement. City officers do undertake a review of all acquittals to ensure the requirements have been met. A milestone payment can sometimes be retained until officers are satisfied that the recipient of the grant has met all of their requirements. In the situation where the applicant meets agreed deliverables but falls short on performance indicators, this is noted and considered for future assessments of future applications. In the situation where the applicant does not meet the purpose of the agreement, the City may seek to recoup some of the funds and or withhold the final milestone payment.
Lovely, thank you for that. And my last one is, can you confirm the total remaining balance of the Economic Development Sponsorship budget after this proposal of $40,000 is allocated?
Through the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Engagement and Activation to respond, please.
Thank you. Through the Lord Mayor, the full table of the financial implications should be included at page 156 of 187. These were correct at the time of publication, so that table states that if this sponsorship is approved by Council next week for the full $40,000 recommended, there will be $206,200 remaining in the Economic Development Sponsorship budget. Since the time that this agenda was published, the administration has approved 2 grants under delegated authority to a total of $27,000. That was $15,000 for She Codes at Space Cubed and $12,000 for 40 under 40 for a total of 27. So considering the 27, and if this 40,000 was approved by council, the remaining budget would be 179,200.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Before we move along, I just want to say that late questions, our GMs are on fire. Well done, guys. Really well answered. Item 16 we've just dealt with. Item 17 is the Chief Executive Officer Alliance reports. We do have one, the policy review, which is 17.1 for Council Policy 4.6 Honorary Awards. We've received one question with notice. Councillor Leeser, has that been answered to your satisfaction?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the floor? Okay, we can move on to 17.2. Review of Council Policy 2.8 Acting and Temporary Chief Executive Officer. Councillor Leeser has one question on it with notice. Has that been answered to your
Yes,
satisfaction?
thank you. Yep.
Any questions from the floor? Item 18 are committee reports. There are no reports there. Item 19, motions of which notice have been given. Item 19.1 the notice of motion for the street parking fee waiver voucher program. Councillor Leeser has had one question with notice. Has that been answered to your satisfaction?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any questions from the floor? No? Okay, thank you. Yes. Got a question?
Sorry, 19.1, I do.
Fire away.
Thank you. So could the administration please confirm the report does not provide evidence that this issue has been raised by residents? Has the administration received any complaints, formal or informal, regarding this matter? And if so, could details be provided on the volume and the nature of these types of complaints?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Commercial Services to respond, please.
Through you, Lord Mayor, the administration is not aware of any complaints received on this matter.
Okay, thank you. Through to the next question.
Thank you. I note that the current on-street parking fees are circa $77 a day and $38.50 for half a day, meaning that the city could potentially lose a significant revenue if these vouchers were widely used. Could the administration please clarify, would the city lose revenue if this programme was adopted, and if so, by how much? What would be the approximate cost of a feasibility study based on what appears to be, from memory, a single ratepayer's request? And given the city has over 34,000 residents, not including workers and businesses, would investigating this programme for limited demand risk exhausting resources and setting a very unrealistic expectation for others?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And through to the General Manager, Commercial Services, please.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Lord Mayor. The value of fees waived can only be estimated based on the potential take-up rate. Assuming that each rateable residential address is provided 3 vouchers per annum, then if there is a 20% take-up rate, the value of the fees waived is approximately $740,000 per annum, rising to $1.85 million if there is a 50% take-up. These calculations do not include the cost to resource the service or to procure a new booking system, which will be required. The administration estimates that there will be approximately 50 to 60 hours of internal staff time to investigate and develop up the feasibility for further review.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Thank you. Many residents live on streets with parking restrictions, such as permits and no stopping zones, like myself on Adelaide Terrace, where vouchers would not be applicable. For example, my building alone has 450 fully utilised car bays spanning over 6 underground levels. Could the administration please advise, how does the city plan to manage potential complaints and dissatisfaction from residents like myself who will be unable to use this voucher scheme due to the nature of its restrictions.
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And through to the General Manager, Commercial Services, please.
Through you, Lord Mayor. As per the current bay reservation scheme, the applicant is encouraged to book a standard parking bay. But where an acrob bay and/or a taxi bay is requested, it will be considered on a case-by-case basis, noting that no stopping zones wouldn't be included in the scheme. And also, it is a requirement if it is a taxi bay or an acrob bay, then a replacement bay will be required. The proposed feasibility will consider all of this in more detail.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
I note that traders already charge premiums for city-based jobs from experience in building and facilities management for myself in the last 7 years. I've seen that access issues and higher costs are common for city properties, meaning residents are already paying a premium for city living. Could the administration please clarify, has any analysis been undertaken to determine whether the proposed benefit to the residents would be significant compared to the existing premiums already charged by service providers for access?
Thank you. Through to the CEO.
And to the General Manager, Commercial Services, please.
Through you, Lord Mayor. No analysis has been carried out to understand how the proposed street parking fee waiver voucher programme would impact on the cost of engaging the contractor to the customer.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Godsales, DLM.
Thanks. We had some mention there around take-up rates of up to 50%. I'm just wondering, with our existing residential street permits, can we get an indication of what the take-up rate for the number of dwellings on those streets are?
Thank you. Through the CEO.
If I could direct to the General Manager, Commercial Services, and if we need to take it on notice, would you like to make that statement, General Manager?
Yeah, through you, Lord Mayor. Can we take that on notice, please?
Sure can. No problem. Any other questions?
Yeah, just to clarify that, with that taken on notice, it would be helpful to get a percentage figure and potentially a breakdown of different streets and different zones. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can do. No problem at all. Any other questions? Okay, no problem. We'll move on to item 20, which is the matters for which the meeting may be closed. Before we go on to item 20, Councillor Lisa, you do have a question for 20.1. Has that been answered to your satisfaction?
It has, and I have a follow-up.
Okay, in that case, we'll need to go behind closed doors. So item 20.1 and 20.2 are designated confidential in accordance with section 5.23, bracket 2, bracket A of the Local Government Act 1995. If any councillors have questions relating to these items, we'll move to behind closed doors and pause the live screen. Okay, looks like we are up and running. Doors are open. Our meeting has been reopened. Item 21 is urgent business. This item will be dealt with at the ordinary council meeting next week. Item 22, which is closure. There being no further business, I now declare the agenda briefing session closed at 5:59 p.m. And thank you all for your attendance and contributions. Great to see you all.
Thank you. Would you all please rise for the Lord Mayor, Bruce Reynolds?